Hello all you shining stars, and welcome to my channel Shining Star Soup. In today's What's the Soup Saturday, we're going to do something a little bit different. And what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about keto. The keto diet, lifestyle, crash course. So basically in this video I'm just going to talk a little bit about the keto diet, and one thing that really helped me in knowing what you cannot eat, what you need to limit for what you want your diet to be, and just basically some useful tips and tricks. So basically the idea behind the keto diet is that it is high fat, I was going to say high five, high fat, a low carb diet. And what that is supposed to do is put your body into what they call a state of ketosis that enables your body to burn fat instead of using like the fat for energy rather than carbs. Now, my husband and I have been on and off on this diet for a while, and I mean, it is essentially a lifestyle change. It's not as easy, especially when you're starting out, because you know, growing up we have our comfort foods, we have our toast in the morning, our sandwiches, and just a lot of heavy breads, you know, potatoes and rice. It was just how, you know, we were raised, we were brought up. And the thing is, and the biggest thing that I have to admit when it comes to keto, is that keto is not cheap. Healthy, I'm being real here, to switch and make healthier choices, it usually does cost more money. And you know, these breads and pastas and carbs are just, they are readily available, the comfort foods. You know, what do you order when you go out for a hamburger? You have your bun, you have your meat, your cheese, your condiments, you know. What do you want as a side dish when you're making meals for your family? Rice, spaghetti, pasta, potatoes. It's really hard to kind of kick yourself and pull yourself out of that, and it's definitely is a struggle. I mean, that's the reason why me personally, I've gone back and forth where I've gone at keto in order to have these carbs and these comfort foods. But there's one thing I did notice, is that in general, food does affect our mood. You know, it's very true, that coin phrase, you are what you eat. You really are, because you know, whenever you eat too much, you feel sluggish afterwards, you don't have enough energy, that kind of thing. And keto is really a choice. It's a lifestyle choice. And normally, even with keto, some of the things we've always been taught are bad for us, like fat, is not. There are studies, and I mean, you can decide on your own, because obviously if you're interested in this kind of thing and you're watching this video, you want to know more. Keto might not be for you. However, from my personal experience, it has helped me tone up, give me more energy, and there are certain things that you can do to actually enjoy keto. Alright, so the first rule is going to be, you want, and don't mind me if I glance off to the side, I kind of gave myself some notes for this video. This is a crash course. You want to stay away from all breads and pastas that are wheat-based, potatoes too, and rice on the keto diet. Now, on the keto diet, there's also something that's called cauliflower rice that has the consistency of rice, but like no carbs, and can actually kind of provide you that side dish and your filling. So the good thing about keto is that there are a lot of alternatives. All right, and of course sugar. you want to be, sugar is high in carbs, and you want to kind of limit your sugar intake. So your pops and your fruit juices, of course, are pretty much going to be a no-go. Powdered iced tea, if you're from Canadian. If you are from Canada, is going to be a no-go. But of course, you know, sticking to teas and coffees and that kind of thing is going to be good. And then get a bit into alternatives too for what you can do for, you know, what are your other options to not have these heavy carbs in your diet, because there are lots of options. Even some vegetables do need to be avoided on keto too, or in more limited amounts. Now, when it comes to vegetables, carrots, peas, and corn, they are higher carbs, and you can do research on your own. And there is actually charts out there that'll give you eat this instead of that, right? So, I mean, it's kind of hard to have any, like, buy any frozen vegetables that don't have corn or don't have peas, right? It's a hard thing to do, and sometimes, again, healthier can be more expensive when you're trying to have a keto grocery shopping list to start getting in that. But you can stick with beans, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage. I don't eat, but if you do, they're good for keto. Same with lettuce. Your leafy greens, kale are higher in vitamins, lower carb. Another one is zucchini. Zucchini is really good. Cucumbers are good. And fruits, unfortunately, they need to be limited as well. Bananas, pineapples, mangoes are unfortunately a no-go. They're very high in carbs, they're very high in sugar. Again, getting back to what I said earlier, you want to stay away from all those fruit juices. Unfortunately, they are mostly sugar. And oranges are kind of in the mid-range when it comes to carbs. I mean, if you have freshly squeezed orange juice that you make from home, hey, go for it. And but for your fruit, you want to stick with more strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries, because those berries are usually lower carbs than your pineapples and your mangoes and your bananas. And I love bananas, and I'm very sad that I cannot eat bananas as much now, because again, bananas are a very high carb fruit, if you didn't know that. Meat is pretty much good. You want to stick with your lean cuts like turkey, chicken, lean ground beef, steak, pork chops if they're a lean cut, and not, meats, you know, you want your protein if you're going to be on a keto diet. Keto is really big on cheese, which is really helpful that keto allows cheese, because there are so much more recipes and things that you can do with cheese. You know, mozzarella cheese, cream cheese. Cream cheese is used in a lot of keto-friendly desserts. And Parmesan, depending on what kind of Parmesan cheese you get, obviously the shredded and not the Kraft Parmesan cheese, even though you can use Kraft Parmesan cheese, but shredded is obviously going to be a better deal for you. Marbled cheese, hard cheese. The one thing when it comes to cheese you want to stay away from, of course, is going to be Cheese Whiz. Cheese Whiz, unfortunately, is going to be higher in, a little bit higher in carbs, but it's got all this stuff in it and extra things, and that's what you really have to watch for. But in keto, high-fat milk, so homo milk instead of 2%. Whipping cream or heavy cream is really encouraged on a keto diet. And mayo is actually surprisingly low in carbs, as well as, of course, mustard. You can get sugar-free ketchup that is a little bit lower carbs than the regular ketchup. Fortunately, it doesn't taste that great. It does not taste as good as regular ketchup do, so there are some things that are not going to taste as great. And, of course, your tuna, your salmon, your shrimp. You know, if you're more of a fish person, you can go for fish on keto. And there are a lot of low-carb, great-tasting recipes out there. A lot of websites you can just Google, and there are so many different websites and different recipes where you can really make keto your own. Now, I'm not going to step at all into, you know, okay, what do I do if I want to go out for fast food? The pretty much thing that when you're starting a keto diet is, or a keto lifestyle change, is to kind of think ahead when you're ordering. So if you're going to go in A&W and you're going to order a teen burger, you know, they offer low carb options like getting it in a lettuce wrap instead of a bun. My husband and I would do that when we went to Wendy's and we got Baconators. We would just get it in a little tray, like in where they put the tray that they put the stuffed potatoes in. They would just give us the meat and cheese. So they're all alternatives. The same with fries. You know, instead of getting your fries, you get your salad. Or if you want to get something sweet to drink, you can brew tea at home, sweet tea at home, without adding a lot of extra sugar. And unfortunately, the same with honey. Honey as well is high carb. Honey is high carb. All right, I'm just going to on here kind of we're gonna do a little list of crash course the things that you want to avoid. Pretty easy. You want to and I'm gonna try to break it down to like sweets and desserts and like regular meals. So I mean, and I'll give you a list of some what you can go out and buy at the grocery store to kind of start giving yourself ingredients to be able to start a keto lifestyle. All right, so one thing you gotta avoid again is heavy carbs. So your breads, your pastas, and your rice, and yeah, and of course potatoes. Now for alternatives. So alternatives for when it comes to bread is almond flour. So you definitely want to use almond flour. Coconut flour is another good one. And obviously reading your labels. You want to kind of give yourself a goal of what you want to stick under to keep yourself kind of in that ketosis. All right, so like I said, flour, you want your almond flour and your coconut flour instead of regular wheat flour. For breads, you can make almond flour bread. You can make coconut flour bread. You can make almond flour buns. You can for rice, a good substitute is cauliflower rice, which is basically just grinding out the cauliflower so that it has that nice rice texture. For pastas, alternatives for pastas is of course spaghetti squash. There's also this ready-made pasta. It's expensive. Like I said, eating keto tends to be more expensive than just eating everything else. So some of us can't even afford to go keto, even if we want to, because it's so pricey. New pasta. New pasta I do recommend. It's very low in carb. It's not going to be the exact same thing as pasta. Zucchini as well. Zucchini is a really good alternative for, like, you can make zucchini cake if you use almond flour instead of regular flour. And yeah, so that's gonna sum up for your. And if you're really craving a potato and you like sweet potatoes, go for a sweet potato. However, keep in mind that that sweet potato is not going to be an everyday meal kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. So we're moving on to the vegetables. Obviously, broccoli and cauliflower are highly recommended on the keto diet. Lettuce and your leafy greens, kale, again, is extremely recommended on a keto diet. And you can do different things with that. Bean sprouts, alfalfa sprouts. I really like alfalfa sprouts, strangely enough. Just to, kind of work with it. Now, the vegetables that you want to do in limited quantities, you don't want to have them every day or else they're going to knock you out of ketosis, even a vegetable. Those would be carrots and, what else I say? Carrots, peas, and corn is definitely something you're going to have to limit just because they are so high in carbs. And, yeah. Now, moving on to the fruits, like I said, bananas and pineapples, mangoes are unfortunately a no-go. However, when you, starting from what is the lowest carb, blueberries, raspberries are low in carbs. Blackberries and strawberries are still okay, but when you start getting into like I mentioned, mangoes and bananas, unfortunately, you can't. You do have to limit your fruit intake because of the natural occurring sugars in fruit. That's why you do need to limit them on any type of keto diet. Meat's pretty good. Pretty much all meats. I don't know all meats. I don't eat sausage. If you're gonna have a hot dog, you'd have to have just the wiener kind of thing, but make sure it's all beef, just because all beef to me tastes better. You can also get bacon. I forgot to mention bacon. Bacon's actually a really good one. You can get turkey bacon if you're turkey bacon's actually really good. Those are positive ones. For the meat, there isn't really anything that I could find that you need to stay away from. Of course, with you can have your fish, so you can have your salmon, your tuna, and your shrimp is really recommended. Even scallops, if you're into scallops like me. Again, you can do sushi, but sushi generally has rice if you're getting the normal brown sushi, so that you kind of want to save for cheat days. Another thing Keto's big on is, did I mention this again already? How, with keto, you want to stick with your, your cream cheese and your whipping cream and your hard cheese. You can make so many different meals being able to have cheese. And the one thing I recommend if you are doing that sweet tooth thing for me, I highly recommend Swerve. Swerve is very, it's good tasting. It doesn't give you that weird aftertaste that stevia does. And you might know what I'm talking about. Stevia to me is it's awful. I don't like it. Stevia drops. And yeah, Swerve is the way to go. Now, Swerve is expensive. Swerve is going to run you anywhere from $12 to $14 for like a bag that big, right? It's not cheap, but it is really good, and it does live up to its claims that it tastes and measures and bakes just like sugar. So that is the one staple, especially if you have a sweet tooth, that I recommend. Cocoa butter is really good because it's high in fat and it tastes just like white chocolate. So you could even melt cocoa butter into a cup, add some hot water, and it's like you have a cup of Tim Hortons white hot chocolate. That's how good it is on its own. And pretty much you gotta do this or that, instead of it does require not really sacrifices, but more adjustments of your diet and what you take in every day. And I really recommend Google and recipes, and it's a change. I do myself personally, I do allow myself a cheat meal, and usually, but you don't want a cheat meal every day. You do your cheat meals once a week, and then once you get used to it, you won't crave it as much. And that's the thing when it comes to keto, is that when you have alternative meals and alternative ingredients that you can use, you tend to not miss the bread as much. And if you do, there is an alternative. You can make your almond flour buns instead of your almond flour bread, instead of the carb heavy breads and pastas that are just no good for you. Alright, so I kind of got off track with my keto diet crash course. And to sum it up, Google, eat your cheese, eat your high fat, lower your carbs, and make wise decisions. Change your diet to suit you. Don't force yourself to eat something that you are not going to like just for the sake of it being healthier. For instance, what I mean is, don't force yourself to buy a bunch of Brussels sprouts and choke them down if you don't like Brussels sprouts. But do try to find yourself healthier alternatives that work for you. For me, I like my spaghetti, but spaghetti squash is actually really good. New pasta, as I mentioned, is really good. You love cheesecake? Great. Cheesecake is a go on keto. However, you got to make sure that you make it. not only will it save you money to make yourself, but you can control what goes in there, right? I'm not a calorie counter. I'm not a carb counter. I am a carb estimator. I just, take into account what I ate that day. If don't have cheat days, have cheat meals, and limit yourself to what kind of carbs. If you, sometimes you just got to do it. It's really on you, and if you have a big family, it's best just to have everybody kind of involved in it. All right, so I'm going to sum up this Keto Diet Crash Course video now. If you have any questions or any tips that you want to ask for or anything like that, feel free to leave me a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed my What's a Soup Saturday, my Keto Diet Crash Course, and keep being shining stars, even if I'm not around, is often to remind you. Bye, guys!